Hello and welcome to the Unpractice space. I am your host, Dr. Rachel White Galvin, and this, I believe, is my 8th episode. So these, I call them prompts. They're basically podcasts. If I'm honest with myself, which I don't know if I'm ready to be that honest. I told myself I would never start a podcast, and yet here I am. So I don't know. I like calling them prompts, just because they're supposed to be short, though the last few have not, because I have a lot to say about posture, and that brings us to our monthly theme, which is posture. So we've been talking about posture, and I'm pretty sure this is August. The summer has flown by. So we've talked about what is good posture, how much we stress about posture. We've talked about ergonomics. We've talked about tension and how we really do stress out about these things. We turn our perfectionism onto these ideas about posture in order to try and fix ourselves, because we think about fixing our technique, right? And so our posture is kind of an extension of that technique. And so what I wanted to talk about today is kind of niche, I guess you could say. But this, everything I talk about is niche, so I don't know why I'm saying that. But the industry, we'll put it, of marketing instrument-specific stretches and strengthening workouts to musicians. So if you've been playing for a while, then you honed your movement to fit the constraints presented by your instrument, right? By playing your instrument. And this takes a lot of time and practice to get to this point. And that's to be celebrated, to be congratulated. You've put in a lot of work. When you're at this point, though, you might be feeling some of those aches, maybe even some pains. And just like you've sought out a teacher to help you refine your technique, maybe multiple teachers, you're probably feeling like you need to go look for answers in terms of the aches and pains. Because let's be honest, most instrumental teachers, they don't really have a scope to talk about the aches and pains. And a lot of them try to, but they really shouldn't. So you go out and you're seeking advice from people, practitioners of various sorts, maybe like doctors, PTs, personal trainers, chiropractors, the like, and you might find this niche part of the market that is hawking, stretching routines and strengthening protocols specifically for your particular instrument. And you think, jackpot, what luck that people get me. And that's really important, right? Because we want to feel like people get us. So, it's like this revelatory moment. Yes, I am not alone here. And, for the record, you are not alone. But I want you to not jump too far into that so fast. Because yes, someone has done some thinking about movement patterns, about your instrument. But I think that there are some flaws here. So I want to back up a little bit and talk about, how in classical music, we are trained from the very beginning, from the first time we pick up our instrument, to defer to other people's opinions. We look to those people to tell us how to hold our instrument, how to make a proper sound, how to read music, how to interpret music, what concert clothing to wear, etc., etc. Classical music education puts a profound emphasis on telling students how to move, think, and feel. And as a movement teacher, the problem I see with this is that we rarely give students the opportunity to explore themselves for themselves. So, what does that have to do with anything that I just said before about what this episode is about? Because these routines are supposed to be specific to the problems of each instrument. That idea caters to our over-reliance on needing to be told what to do. So I'll say that again. These workouts and stretches for a specific problem for each instrument cater to our over-reliance on needing to be told what to do. And part of our problem is that over-reliance, that disconnect with ourselves. So if you follow me for long enough, you will start to notice that I have this thing that I keep saying, and maybe it's annoying, I don't know, but it's true. You are not a machine. Now granted, we all come with the similar basic design, similar type bone organization, and muscles that move those bones. But we have an infinite amount of variation. So just because you play a particular instrument with a very specific required movement pattern doesn't mean that a practitioner can look at you and understand everything else going on for you. There's history involved, right? There's emotional, mental things to be thinking about here. Not everybody thinks the same. Not everybody feels the same. Not everybody walks into a certain situation and has the same response, right? Like, for instance, myself, I've had a lot of neck problems since I was about 15. And it was very easy when those neck problems started, when I was 15, for it to be seen as an issue related to playing the viola. But it's taken me a while to understand that the issues actually probably went back even further than that, to when I was about 5 years old in a car accident. And a practitioner who is trying to hawk me a viola specific workout, they're not going to know that I've had those other problems as well that are going to impact how I move, how I sense myself, all those kinds of things. So I'm sure that if there's anybody out there listening to this, you might be thinking, well, but what about counteracting overuse, right? Because we talk about overuse a lot. And to that I say, yes, overuse is overuse, plain and simple. But we often stop there, right? So we think it's overuse, and we think that it's the done thing. You do a movement, and like some kind of robot or machine, there's only one way to do it. More still, if you do something one way, then that means there's only one thing to do to counteract it, and that's to go the other way. So for instance, you bend your elbow, then the only way to counteract that is to straighten it. But not even elbows are that binary. We can learn to do things in lots of different ways. And better still, we can learn to observe how we do those things so that we can notice if we need to do them differently. So elbow, yes, okay, open, close the elbow. But there's actually a lot of variation there, right? Is your hand facing up? Is your hand facing down? The bones of your forearm, they can twist around each other. They actually have some mobility there. And that all impacts how your elbow bends, right? You can play with it. Put your hand out in front of you, palm up. Bend your elbow, straighten it a few times, see what that feels like. And then turn your hand a little bit. And then bend your elbow, straighten it a few times. Turn your hand again, and do this many times, and keep turning your hand every time until your hand is palm down, and bend and straighten your elbow. And just sense how that changes as your hand explores these different angles. It's not the done thing if you think about it in all the multitude ways that we can move ourselves and observe ourselves. The observation is key here. You can do a lot to counteract overuse by expanding your moticillary, your movement vocabulary. So what can you do instead of the fancy instrument-specific workout or instrument-specific stretching routine? What can you do instead? My advice is to take typical workouts, just simple, plain workouts or stretches, and hone your awareness of how you do them. You don't have to go to extremes, but just notice how you do them. Now, by doing this, you're actually creating your own custom workout, which is pretty cool, right? Tailor-made for you to what you need. And this isn't something that anybody else can do for you. You are the one that controls it. And I think that's so cool and so empowering. Now, a teacher like me, I can help you facilitate your attention. Any Feldenkrais practitioner can. We can help you facilitate your attention with verbal or hands-on guidance. But ultimately, that customization really comes from you and you alone. And it's yours to keep and apply anywhere and everywhere. And for the most part, it's free, especially when you get really good at cultivating that awareness. You can take it with you wherever you go. And so if you're in a long, let's say a long day of, back-to-back rehearsals, you can take that awareness with you. And if you're having trouble keeping yourself in the seat through these rehearsals, it's really difficult. You can spend time in those moments noticing what it feels like and noticing the little changes you can make to make yourself more comfortable. You are not beholden to some kind of crazy stretching routine or workout to make you play better. It's almost too limiting, right? It's not empowering to think that you have to have this one particular thing to be able to play your instrument. It's just not empowering. It's very limiting. So take control of it for yourself, and please let me know if you have any questions. In our Patreon, our levels have gone live now, and I do offer one-on-one Zoom sessions as part of the third tier. I believe it's called Embracing the Slow Movement tier. So let me know if you're interested in trying this out. So I would love to work with you. Well, that's it for today. We've got one more of these prompts, posture prompts, coming up this month. And it's kind of a bonus since there are 5 Thursdays in this month. And I do apologize for getting this one out a little later than I was hoping, but should still be up on a Thursday. Our last bonus Thursday posture prompt this month. It will be specific to the discussion of whether we're specializing too young, specializing in specifically instruments too young. So, and I have some relating to sports specialization that I'd like to talk about in that one. So I hope you'll join me. Thanks so much for listening, and I will catch you on the next one. Take care.